Again, our breaking news tonight, just days after saying a special prosecutor is needed to investigate reported ties between the Trump team during the campaign and Russia. A powerful Republican in Congress gets vague on the whole issue. Meanwhile, another key Republican on Capitol Hill is weighing in as well. I talked about the Russia question and much more with Senator Bernie Sanders. I spoke to him earlier this evening. Senator Sanders, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Nunes says he has seen no evidence of contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian officials, and that there should not be a special prosecutor appointed to investigate. Do you agree with him?
No, of course I don't agree with him. Look, what we have happened is unprecedented in the history of our country. We have a major government, the Russian government, led by Mr. Putin, actively interfering in our elections, trying to do everything that they could to make sure that Mr. Trump won the election. Now, there may not yet be any evidence of direct collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign. Perhaps today we do not know. But clearly this is an issue of enormous consequence. Did the Trump campaign collude with the Russian government in order for Mr. Trump to be the next president of the United States? That is an issue that has to be investigated. And what Mr. Nunes knows today or doesn't know is not important. What we need to do is to investigate whether or not that is true.
And how do you want to see that investigation proceed? Because, I mean, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer today said that there's nothing there when it comes to collusion with the Russians. Obviously,
they say, I mean, Anderson, these are the guys who obviously do not want to pursue this issue. They wish that it would go away. The only problem is the American people know that the Russian government actively participated in our campaign in an unprecedented way. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that Trump's financial dealings have been dependent on Russian money. What does that mean? And the question of collusion is maybe the most important issue of all. So it doesn't matter to me what the administration says, doesn't matter to me what Congressman Nunes says. What matters to me is that the American people have got to learn the truth. And that means an independent investigation. It means the Intelligence Committee here in the Senate and in the House do everything they can to get to the truth.
President Trump today talked about his intentions again to repeal and replace Obamacare. There certainly does not seem to be an agreed upon plan by the Republicans how to replace Obamacare. We haven't heard any real details. Do Democrats have an obligation to do more than just not help the Republicans in their efforts?
You mean to say that Democrats should work with Republicans to repeal this legislation? No, I don't think our job is to work with them to repeal the legislation. What our job is to work with them to improve the legislation. Is the Affordable Care Act perfect? Far from it. It needs to be improved. We wait eagerly for the Republicans to come forward with a proposal that will improve the Affordable Care Act. Let's work together.
I'm wondering, when you heard the president today saying, quote, nobody knew that health care could be so complicated. I mean, I thought nobody knew health care would be anything but complicated, but apparently the president said nobody knew that it would be so complicated. Were you surprised by that?
Well, some of us who were sitting on the Health Education Committee, who went to meeting after meeting after meeting, who heard from dozens of people who stayed up night after night trying to figure out this thing. Yeah, we got a clue. When you provide health care in a nation of 320 million people, yeah, it is very, very complicated. And maybe now, maybe the president and some of the Republicans understand you can't go beyond the rhetoric. We're going to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We're going to repeal Obamacare, and everything will be wonderful. A little bit more complicated than that. We remain today, and let's not forget it, the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. We pay the highest prices by far for prescription drugs. Let's address those issues. Let's get beyond rhetoric.
The president's been in office for a little over a month. I'm wondering, are you more or less optimistic about his presidency now?
I wouldn't say I am more optimistic or less optimistic. I am stunned every day.
Stunned?
Stunned, really am. Every day. I mean, you just mentioned to me, he said, I mean, this is the president of the United States. We have been debating health care in this country for 30 years. And he says, gee, who knew how complicated it was? He's maybe the only person in this country who doesn't know how complicated it is to provide health care for the American people. And I think when he comes forward with priorities that says we're going to make apparently massive cuts that impact our children, impact the elderly, impact the sick, impact the poor, and we're going to significantly increase the military budget at a time when we are spending more than the next 10 countries combined. Yeah, I think those priorities are not the priorities of the American people. And then they're going to come forward with massive tax breaks for billionaires like Mr. Trump himself. So I think the priorities they are pushing are way out of touch of where the middle class of this country is.
Senator Sanders, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.